So today I'm here with Shane Fitzgibbon, who left us last year in 2019 to head off to Winchester University to study primary education. Thank you for being here today, Shane.
Thank you for having me.
Can I start by asking you to just explain a little bit more about the course that you are currently studying at Winchester?
Yeah, well, I'm studying primary education at the University of Winchester. It is a 3-year course, and you have a mix of placement, a mix of theory, and a mix of practical. We have a lot of different lessons that we study. We study the main core curriculum, and we study wider curriculum, so other lessons that aren't maths, English, and science, as well as theory of teaching and how to teach children and different ways of how the child's mind works. And it is quite a full-on course, but it's also really, really enjoyable and very practical when you do learn a lot, and then you can put that into practice when you're on placements. Yeah.
Excellent. Can you, I remember going through your decision making with you. Can you talk to us a little bit about why you chose the particular course that you are now doing over other university courses that were available to you?
Well, all the way up to into year 12, I wasn't sure on what I wanted to do. I'd never really had a click with any kind of job. I had interests, but I never knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then through careers advice meetings where I was shown different skills that I had and I then realized where my real strong points were. I started to reflect on work experience, which in year 10 and 12, in year 10, I worked at a primary school, and I realized I did really enjoy teaching. And so then from looking at different courses for teaching, because I think as soon as the words primary education came into my mind, I thought, yeah, I think I do want to pursue that. So then with work experience in year 12, I went into a school. And when I was there, I realized that this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I really, really enjoyed working in that school. So it was really a case of seeing where my strengths were and then building from that. And then looking at different courses. And I realized that Winchester and that course, I really clicked.
Okay. And you also had to do a certain number of weeks of work experience for that particular course, didn't you?
Yeah. So there was we had to do pre-course work experience, which was 2 weeks at a primary school. And we had to do 1 week in Key Stage 1 and 1 week in Key Stage 2. So I worked in a local primary school where I did half and half, which gave me a really good knowledge of the curriculum actually, and I got to see how from year 1 to year 6 how children learn and develop and how their teaching changes from teachers. So it was a really, really interesting and useful experience to have. And then I got something that which then came from that places.
Okay. So why did you choose Winchester University? You talked about the course, but what was it about Winchester that appealed to you?
Well, Winchester was actually one of the last unis I'd looked at. Previously, I'd looked at a variety of different ones, and I'd liked the courses, I'd liked the places, but I had small little picky things that I hadn't quite become attached to them yet. And I think it was in year 13 that I then looked at Winchester's website, because I had a choice that I was very kind of moving towards choosing, but I wasn't 100% happy with it. And so then I looked at Winchester's website because a friend told me about Winchester, and I saw the course and thought, okay, I really do like the sound of this. And then it was a case of going to the next open day as soon as I could, which I then did with my mum, and just walking around the campus. As they say, you get the feel, you get the click. And I was there and I thought, this is exactly where I want to be. And the course was perfect. The lecturers were perfect. The accommodation was perfect, because accommodation is important. You have to like the campus that you've got. And all the boxes just were ticked. And then I was making tick lists on each uni and what each ones did better than the others. And I just saw Winchester was coming out on top of all of them. And I just straight away, as soon as I came home, that Winchester was the one.
I remember having that chat with you after you'd been to Winchester and just seeing you just really happy that you kind of had made that decision.
Yeah, it really helped. It was a great place.
So what are you enjoying? What does think that you're not in lockdown right now? Before we came into this place that is lockdown, what did a normal day look like for you, Shane? What did a normal day and a normal week look like?
What a normal week I'll go for, because we were normally in 4 out of 5 days a week. We normally had Wednesdays off as it got closer to semester 2. A normal week would have about 4 or 5 lead lectures in it, where we'd all gather in the stripe, the whole of our cohort. and there would be about 9 or 10 seminars which we would have in our groups. I think there are 9 groups in our year, and my group would meet in our seminar groups about 9 times a week. And so average day would be about maybe 2 seminars at most, and then one lead lecture, but it did change quite a lot. It would always be a different type of day throughout the week.
Okay.
Mm.
What are you enjoying most about your course?
I think the thing I'm enjoying the most is seeing how teaching works when I'm learning it on campus and in theory and learning about the curriculum. But then when I'm going on placement, I'm actually able to put that teaching and all those theory into practice, and seeing how like strategies such as scaffolding and how teachers do actually use them, and then I then use them, and you can see the successes. So I really enjoy teaching children through what I've learned at uni, and it really is amazing how what you learn really does impact the students.
Okay. If you think back to, no, firstly, I'm going to ask you, what are you, when you were in it, what did you enjoy most about university life?
University life, I really enjoyed the independence of it. It's a huge jump from going at home when you are dependent when you're, especially for me, I was dependent on my parents, not to a huge extent, but you are. But then when you're at uni and you're by yourself, and at first it is quite daunting, but then you really do you get it under control, and it is a really enjoyable experience. Just all that independence you have, you can make your own decisions, you're in charge of who you want to be, and then you can make friends from that. You know exactly who you want to be friends with, and there are loads of people, and it's just, I think you just really become an adult at that stage, and you can be exactly who you want to be, and your independence really rockets, and it's so enjoyable.
So if you think back to the application process, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Well, I'd have liked to have seen Winchester maybe when I was in year 12. I'd say definitely had when I'd start. I wish I had started looking at unis a lot earlier, maybe, and then gone on many open days, because I did see a few, but I feel like just to get a great knowledge, it would have been quite useful to just see all of them. Not saying I don't enjoy Winchester, but just I'd say go and see as many unis as you can, look at as many courses as you can, and just get a really good feel of all the different unis. That would be
What,
what I would have done differently.
what about when it comes to your personal statement? Because obviously our year 12s at the moment are just about to start this process. Any tips on getting that personal statement nailed?
I'd say keep it relevant, keep it to the point. Don't put things in there that you think could be good but won't apply to your degree as much, because obviously everyone's got good things about them. But think, why would this make a university really want to choose me and want me to be on their course? Why is it relevant to that? And back up all of your points with evidence. Make sure it's really well written, and make sure others read it around you. Making sure it is yours and your own work, but make sure others give you the go ahead and say you could maybe develop that. Always think that you can keep going with it, because I had so many drafts of mine and I just wanted it to be perfect, and then it really did get to a good point. So always think, what can I add to that? How can I make it better as well?
Okay, excellent. What are your hopes then, Shane, for when you have finished at university?
Well, my hopes are, when I've finished my degree and got the degree, is to go into primary teaching. I'm really looking forward to doing that and starting my NQT year and seeing where that takes me. I want to try and be in many of the years in the schools and teach lots of different children. And I want to see many different schools. I don't want to get tied down just to one school, but I want to get a good ground-based knowledge. But I want to just really experience all of primary school teaching and specialize in different areas and really develop myself in different years and different spectrums.
What has shone out for you this far in the different schools that you have worked in? What has been the main difference that you've come across?
I'd say the main difference would be all different styles of teaching. I think every teacher is really unique and has their own way of teaching pupils that really works for them and their pupils. I don't think any teacher is the same. Every single teacher has a completely different strategy to the next. And that's not saying any of them are wrong. And I think in schools, you can definitely see some strategies, and some strategies aren't as successful as others, but all teachers know what they're doing and they will improve to that point. And I'd say, yeah, the main difference is just how different schools function. It's really interesting to see it as well.
Have you had much of an opportunity to work with many male teachers in primary school? And have you noticed a difference between male and female teaching?
Well, there's a lot more women on our course than there are men, and in my group there are only 4 guys, and the rest are all women. And it's not too much of an issue because we're all here for the same reason. We're all on the
Yeah.
same course, and I think everyone has the different approaches to teaching, but I think everyone's approaches kind of rub off on each other, and you take a bit from here and there. And I don't think there's a gender difference in how people teach. I think everyone teaches the same way, but everyone's got their own things that they add to it, and you just have to look at other people's and take little notes that you like of theirs, and maybe even help them out with stuff that you think that they can improve with from your teaching.
Great answer. How many people are actually on your course, Shane?
On my course in my year, there's 9 groups, and each group has a good number. I think there is about 300 in my year.
Okay. Do you know how that compares to some of the other
So
universities?
on the course, that would be
Sorry, we got a bit of a delay there. Do you know how that might compare to some of the other universities that you also applied to? Is that a big number? Is that a small number?
Well, with primary education is the biggest course at Winchester. It is
Okay.
the biggest course there, so it's quite different to all the other unis I've looked at. Because at some unis I looked at, there were different campuses, and primary education was stuffed onto the smaller campuses that are kind of far away from the main ones. But with Winchester being quite a small university and primary ed being the main course there, you can definitely see that there's a lot more emphasis. You can tell there's a good bit more funding there because it's such a big course in Winchester, and there's a lot of people that do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've talked about personal statements. You've talked about for year 12s to start early and look at as many unis as they can.
Yeah.
To bring this to a close, is there any other advice that you think you would have loved to have been given when you were going through this process?
I'd say start as early as you can with looking at courses, but also if you don't know what course you want to be, look at your strengths and look at what you're really good at, and ask them what qualities they see in you or what jobs they could think that you might enjoy, and then start looking into those jobs. And if they don't suit you, they don't suit you. But I would just say start as early as you can, looking at different jobs, different courses, different places, and just get a really good knowledge of different things, because the earlier you start, the stronger you'll be in the future, and you'll have a really good idea of what you want to do. And also with different courses or unis, don't get trapped in a degree that you're not sure you may not like. Definitely choose something that you really do have a fire for, and something you know that you're really going to enjoy. And that can be based off your A levels or GCSEs or just really interests that you like. So do something that you know you're going to love.
I think that is a great way to bring it to a close, Shane. Thank you so much for your time. I will continue to follow your career, Shane. So I look forward to doing this again, maybe in a couple of years.
Yes, definitely.
Brilliant. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.